few weeks ago, we had this story about you that seemed to shock and confuse a lot of people. You have joined the WWE podcast Gorilla Position as a co-host. So how have you found the reaction to that?
Yeah, I think the first thing that happened is that it sort of, a few people reported it like Kevin's changed careers completely. Like he's not going to be a dancer anymore. He's going to be a wrestler for the WWE. And I was like, I wish, but but it's not quite that. But yeah, that I'm going to be the host of Gorilla Position podcast with James. Yeah, it was really exciting to see everyone's reaction. I suppose it's not something that's normally associated with like a dancer from Strictly Come Dancing, like a ballroom dancer. But yeah, so even some of the interviews that I was doing, like people were sort of slightly confused. So what's this all about? Where did this come from? But yeah, it did seem to sort of interest everyone.
In your day-to-day life, when you make friends and you tell them you're a WWE fan, what's the reaction you get usually then?
Well, nowadays, like it's just become this sort of accepted thing. Like everyone like on Strictly Come Dancing knew that I was a massive sort of wrestling fan, and it just became this like running joke. Like, oh, don't start talking about wrestling in front of kid. Don't get him onto wrestling because he'll never stop. Because usually with me, like I'm pretty chilled. Like I'm not that sort of. I'm one of those typical like performers where like everything happens on stage, and then off stage I'm quite chilled and not that talkative. Apart from when we get talking about wrestling. So and then I get really excited and I want to like discuss the ins and outs of everything. So everyone's a bit like, oh God, Kevin is wrestling. But a couple of my mates are into it, and like we like sort of text and stuff like that of anything that's happened. I'm trying to get my girlfriend into it, but she's not having it.
Well, at what point then, was there a point when you started dating where you're like, I have to tell her I'm a WWE fan, that this might be something she's subjected to?
Yeah, it's not normally the first thing you say, is it?
Same for me.
I suppose I just would kind of like drop little things into the conversation. Like I say, oh, blah, 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 blah. You know, like say when WWE do something like this, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I can't remember exactly like when it came out, but it just became this like, oh yeah, I'm a massive WWE fan. And then you sort of, I don't know if you have the same, but it's like you immediately start justifying it and talking about
completely.
how it is and how brilliant it is and all why you're into it, so that they don't just do that thing of like, oh, isn't it all fake?
Yeah.
But to be fair, Stacey didn't say that. She was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think she quite likes the fact that I'm into it.
That's good. So let's go back to the beginning. What's your first memories of watching WWE?
So it started like when I was a kid. I had a mate called Tom. I'm not in touch with him anymore, but a mate called Tom who he was really into it, and I went round his house and he put the old videos, the old VHS videos of like
Silvervision video.
Yeah, Silvervision. That's it. Yeah. And he put one of them on and we were watching it, and he was telling me, oh yeah, Hulk Hogan, this, that, and the other. So then I became like this Hulk Hogan fan, and then he said, no, but my favorite's Ultimate Warrior. So he started telling me about Ultimate Warrior, and then I feel like we got into all the videos, and it was sort of around. I remember having the 1990 Royal Rumble on video that I watched over and over again, and then the Survivor Series where Undertaker debuted. All around that sort of era. I know I had WrestleMania 8 on video, and then I found out that Hogan and Warrior had fought each other at WrestleMania 6. So I'm like, I've got to get that on video. So I got that, and then it just sort of, I was just into it from then, and I just carried on watching. And I always feel like when I was at school, I feel like everyone was watching it.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew all the wrestlers, and then I remember as a present when I was really young. My mum and dad surprised me saying that, we'd booked this like, they said it was a mystery tour. You just pay for a ticket and you get on a coach and they take you somewhere, like either to a show, or it could be a museum, or it could be anything, but you don't know what the trip is. And obviously it turned out it was a wrestling show that they were taking me to. It wasn't a mystery tour. My dad, because he knew that that's what they do on the bus, he said, oh, I've had a word with the driver, and I've told the bus driver that you're really into wrestling. So he's got a wrestling video that he's going to play us on the way, because he knew that they'd put something on and I'd start guessing. So I still didn't even twig. And then we got to, I think it was Sheffield we went to, and they showed me the ticket, and I was like, whoa. And I remember coming in the next day, and we'd bought a pair of like the pink Bret Hart glasses, and told everyone that Bret Hart gave them to me on the front row when I was right at the back, but like told everyone that they were Bret Hart's. So it was around that time that I got into it, and I've just watched it ever since.
So you're pre-Attitude Era fan. Do you remember the kind of Attitude Era boom where it got even bigger, where everyone was kind of watching it?
Yeah, and that's when I feel like when I was in like secondary school, and I feel like it became cool to watch it, and and it was like one of my mates had Sky and we didn't have Sky, so we'd like either go round to his to watch it on Sky, or he'd bring in the video to school or something, and then we got Sky. So then I was like, right, I'm going to tape everything and bring it in. So we'd watch it like in the breaks, like lunch breaks at school and stuff. If there'd been a pay-per-view, we'd watch it in there. And then I just feel like after school, I feel like all the same mates that were watching it just, I don't know, went to uni or whatever and just stopped watching it. And like a few years later, I'd be like, oh, did you see this? What about that when Stone Cold did it? And they were like, no, I haven't watched it in a few years. I was like, what?
Oh my gosh, I had a similar thing happen, because for that period, like, all the boys in my class liked wrestling, and then one summer they all came back, and I was like, oh, did you see this? And they all went, no, we watch Big Brother now. And like, that was it.
No.
I was so disappointed. So for you, what similarities do you see between WWE and dancing, and has watching it kind of helped you in any way as a performer?
Yeah, so I've said this for a while, that it's very similar. And first of all, in terms of choreography, like obviously what they do is brilliant sort of physical choreography, which is what we do. But also the show itself, like we do the Strictly tour after it's been on TV, like in the arenas. And when the first time I did it, I thought, this is amazing, because this is what it must feel like to be a wrestler coming out. And then I started making all these comparisons. We're like in, the O2 or whatever, and there's like a massive Strictly Come Dancing entranceway with lights and pyros, and you come like down the steps to this big entrance. You've got the Strictly Come Dancing theme tune. You walk past the judges, commentators. On the way down to like the middle of in the middle of the arena, they had like this big sort of island platform that we would dance on, the ring. And it's like everyone that was on the show had been hired because it's all these different characters, and you had sort of different journeys and storylines. Like say on Strictly Come Dancing, it's like some of them are really good from the beginning, like they're really talented dancers. Some of them are really entertaining. Some of them are not great dancers, but they're great talkers. Some of them are sort of not great, but the crowd really gets behind them in like a sort of underdog kind of a way. There's all these different characters, but wearing all these crazy outfits. One year I did a Wonder Woman themed number on Strictly, and so like my partner was wearing the Wonder Woman outfit, and you're coming down and you and a partner is doing this choreographed routine, and then by the end of it, someone wins the title, like someone wins the glitter. And I just thought, this is the same show as WWE. Like this is exactly the same as going to a live show of WWE. And I just started drawing all these comparisons. And then I guess when I first came on the show, so it took me a while to get on the show on Strictly. Like I failed my first 2 auditions, and then finally I got a place on the show. And it was mainly because I was a bit of a goth. I'd got a long black hair and eyeliner and black fingernails and all of that.
Same.
And Strictly had no need for that guy. And so I sort of cleaned up my act a bit and smartened up and cut my hair and stopped wearing makeup and all that sort of stuff. But I came on thinking, wow, I've been under this sort of mask of all this goth stuff for a while. Like, who am I now? What happens now? And Bruce Forsyth was announcing this, and he said, he said, oh, 5 new dancers this year, and they're all quite difficult names for him to pronounce. So he's like, Aljaž Skoljanec from Slovenia, Iveta Lukasiuta from Lithuania. And then at the end he went, finally one I can say, Kevin from Grimsby. And it became almost like this character. And
Yeah.
I twigged early on, I thought, this is my gimmick. Like, this is like my wrestling gimmick. And I think because of years of watching wrestling and how an entertainment show that's quite similar works and the characters that are on it, I feel like I know what to do with this and I can run with this, like this whole Kevin from Grimsby thing. And it just became like my sort of gimmick. And a lot of the time I'll use just little things like that I see on wrestling sort of creep into my performances on stage and stuff. I think it's totally similar. No one else on the show gets this whenever I talk about it. They're like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? But I see it as a very similar show.
No, I totally get it. I think unless you like understand wrestling, you won't get it. But
Yeah, exactly. And there was, when I was doing a show called Burn the Floor, which was a dance show, we went to Broadway in the end, and people said, a show like ours, a dance show like ours, wouldn't work on Broadway and whatever. We were always trying, and then we got there, and I felt like it was this big mountain for us to get over. And then at the end of it, on opening night, I used to have this like long jacket that I was wearing when I was dancing in it. On the last number, I remember taking off. I felt this like, we've done it. We've made it to Broadway, and the audience is going off, and it's all brilliant. And I remember just taking off my jacket at the end like this, and going bang, slamming it down on the floor, and just going like that. And my dad was there in the audience, and he said, "Why did you slam your jacket down on the floor?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm not sure." And then I remembered that's what Vince McMahon did when WWE won the war against WCW. With the whole like invasion angle, and they had that final like big battle, and WWE won, and he came out and he took his jacket off and went bang, slammed it on the floor, and I'm like, that's definitely where I've got it from.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thinking about what you were just saying about the Strictly tour and everything, and feeling like the WWE superstar, if you had to make a dance routine to a superstar entrance music, what one do you think would work the best?
Interesting. That's a great question. Well, I mean, the easiest one for me to say straight off the bat is Fandango, because it's just like, it's just Latin music. But there's some good ones. I was just thinking about this the other day. I would love to take some of the like entrance music of WWE and like and turn them into like different versions of it. So like something like Randy Orton's like, I hear voices in my head. Like you could just sort of make a slightly different version of that and make it really interesting. Shinsuke Nakamura would really work as like an Argentine tango or something like that. Yeah, that would be really cool.
How did you rate Fandango as a dancer and as a character at the time when he debuted? As a dancer, what was your opinion of that character?
Dancer. Yeah, he's a terrible dancer. He can't dance at all. But I find him really entertaining, and I love the gimmick. And remember when he sort of first burst out with it, like I was saying on Gorilla Position at one point, I feel like for a few weeks he was the most over wrestler like in all of wrestling.
Oh, absolutely.
For a couple of weeks when everyone was like singing the theme tune like all the time. And he had Summer Rae with him, and she would come out and like do a little bit of dancing. And then randomly, like I remember tweeting them at the time, and Summer Rae actually tweeted back, and I was like, "You want to get yourself on Strictly Come Dancing, doing all that?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And for a minute, we sort of like send each other a couple of messages, going, "Yeah, we need to make this happen. We need to make this happen." And then it sort of died out. But yeah, I do love Fandango, and I love what he's doing at the moment. Him and
Tyler.
Tyler Breeze, coming out with all their ridiculous entrances. Like the Mountie one was hilarious.
Well, speaking of like summer maybe doing Strictly, you've had like Nikki Bella and Chris Jericho doing Dancing with the Stars. Did you ever watch any of them? And is there anyone you think would be good at that?
I didn't really watch them do it, to be honest. I'm going to go back and watch it because I'm really interested, especially to see how Jericho did.
He's got some really good ones. Like,
yeah.
He really tried.
Yeah, like I would love them to get one of the wrestlers over on Strictly. Mm-hmm. Like I would go back on Strictly just for that, like just to dance the wrestler. But I just think like so many of them could do like amazing. They just have such a great skill set to start with, like and lifts that they could do and stuff, and they're so athletic. Like it would be amazing to watch. I did a little bit of dance. I've literally just posted it on Twitter because James had that conversation with Sasha Banks on Gorilla Position just now, and she was hammering him, and I tweeted, Sasha Banks was great in this interview, and he tweeted me traitor because she was hammering James, and I just posted back at him, yeah, but we got history because a few years ago I was training in Glasgow with Strictly because my Susan Calman, who I danced with, was from Scotland, and WWE were there while I was there training, so I went to watch them at the arena, and they took me backstage like to do just like a sort of PR thing where like if anyone wanted to like do a bit of dancing or whatever, and so I ended up doing a little bit with Enzo, and Goldust was there. He said no, and but then I did some dancing with Sasha Banks. And she was like really generous with her time, and we so I showed her a bit of my dancing, and then she was showing me how she does that like entrance thing that she does. So I've got my little video of that. So Sasha Banks on Strictly is the dream.
You also recently interviewed Drake Maverick. So who's your like dream WWE interview now that you're doing Gorilla Position?
Who would I love to interview? I mean, so many of them. So many, like, because I was so starstruck. It was interesting when I did the interview with Drake. Like, it was the first time I've interviewed a wrestler, and like normally I don't get so like sort of starstruck by people, but by wrestlers I was so like this. When James told me I was going to be interviewing him, I got so excited, and at the beginning of the interview, he went, "Oh, this is your first one, is it?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's not like a full size wrestler or like one of the proper ones." And I was like, "Drake, you have no idea how excited I am at this." But who would I love to interview? I mean, out of the current ones, I would love to talk to. I mean, all the top ones. I'd love to talk to like Seth about his story, character development that he's gone through from sort of last November at Survivor Series to now. But I think James has actually just recently spoken to him. I'd love to speak to like the bosses. I'd love to speak to Triple H, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and with those. I mean, obviously he's not there now, but like, I'd love to talk to The Rock. That'd be, but you know what I mean? Like,
The Rock's the dream. Yeah. I can imagine like a lot of people that don't know about wrestling might be reading this. So is there a match that you would recommend to someone that is wondering why Kevin likes WWE? Is there a match that you should tell them to check out?
Well, I mean, my favorite match of all time is Taker and Shawn. I mean, both of them matches, those 2 years. But I think the first one, I was just so. I mean, yeah, they're both amazing. But the first one, I was so emotional, and I've been watching wrestling for years. So it's not like the first great match I've seen. I was talking about this on Gorilla Position just recently, that I did the thing like maybe a couple of years ago. I did the thing where I was going to watch all the WrestleManias from the beginning, just as a thing to do, and came across the Ricky Steamboat Randy Savage match, and like I had no idea that it was like this legendary match that everyone always talks about and refers to, and I started going around, guys, you've got to see this match. I've just seen this match at WrestleMania that was like Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat. You've got to see, honestly, it was amazing. Even like by the ones you're watching today, it was just amazing. And they're like, oh yeah, Savage and Steamboat. Yeah, we know about that one. like it's like everyone knows about that one. And one of my favorite matches from years ago was I love watching Bret Hart and Roddy Piper. SummerSlam. Was it a SummerSlam match or WrestleMania 8? I think it was WrestleMania 8. I love that match, but I think Taker and Shawn, that first one they had at WrestleMania, I think I couldn't believe what was happening. Like after years of being a wrestling fan and feeling like you know sort of how it works and the ins and outs and all of that, that it still took me on such a journey, and I was so like, emotional by the end of it, and I couldn't believe that I felt the way I did by the end of it. I was like, that is as good as it can possibly get.
If you get the call from Vince McMahon, like, Kevin, we want you in WWE, what is the angle you pitch? Like, who do you run in and confront?
Oh, amazing. I mean, I couldn't be a wrestler. Like, I haven't got it in me. I did a wrestling class, and I thought, because I'm such a fan and I know it and whatever, like I thought that I'd be the best one. It was me and my mates who are not really wrestling fans decided to do this, like, as a laugh, and I was dreadful. Like, everything hurt, even like the easiest of bumps, like, really hurt, and I was like, I'm not cut out for this. So I couldn't be a wrestler, but I feel like I could be like a good manager.
Yeah.
For who? I don't know. I'd have to really think about this. I
mean, if all else fails, you could confront Fandango, tell him he's a bad dancer, and then try and work him back up to the top.
Actually, you might have just hit on it. That's a really good idea. Or I could be like Fandango's manager, like I could be his dance coach.
Yeah.
As an angle. And, you know, like his sort of like, what did Paul Heyman always call himself? The advocate.
His advocate,
for Brock Lesnar. It wasn't a manager. I could be like Fandango's dance coach, and I could manage those two and build a stable of people, but they have to be able to dance to be in the stable.
Well, I mean, you could at least get Nikki Bella if she comes back in the stable, because she's done Dancing with the Stars. And then you could try and win Jericho back.
Get Jericho back. Naomi, she dances, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's pretty good.
I heard that.
And Lana as well.
Who?
Lana.
Oh, Lana. Doesn't Swerve do a bit?
I think so.
I hear that. Like, Swerve does a bit of dancing.
Yeah.
I might have misheard that, but yeah. Get them all in the whole, like, singing and dancing stable. Not singing too much. We had that with the karaoke showdown, didn't we? We probably shouldn't have too much more of that.
No more singing on wrestling, I think, unless it's Jeff Jarrett coming back to
yeah, exactly. Yeah.